Morning, everybody. And a beautiful day it is too. So today we're going to turn a winged bowl. This is fun. This is a little dangerous, like a little bit sketchy. But I have some methods that should let us do this reasonably safely. I'm going to use the live center an awful lot today, so I'm just going to put that out here as well. It's one of the tools we're going to use. And then, sorry, let me readjust my mic here. Perfect. Cool. Yeah, definitely a big live center kind of day. And what I wanted to do also was just pull out the piece from yesterday. I just sort of realized, like, if you're on the live stream one day, you don't really get to see them the next day. But yeah, this is how we're doing. And it's turning out pretty nice. Okay, so the idea here is that we are not going to do that much to this piece of wood. We are basically just going to try, let's see, yeah, how close do I want it to be to the edge? That's the question. Yeah, I think that should be about fine. Cool. And then drill our hole here for the screw chuck. Cool. And get the actual screw going over here. There we go. Now we're talking. And then this thing we're going to adjust to the number 6 for the bowl gouge. And we're going to be in rock solid shape here. Let's see. Yeah. Beautiful. Quick sharpen. And then, yeah, this is going to be fun. I haven't done one of these in a while. Cool. All right, yeah, so I need tool rest to be on this side because when I thread this thing on, it gets a little bit wild. Okay. So let's make sure that I have proper clearance here. I think this is going to be the biggest one of these that I've done in a long time. All right, so moment of truth. All right, immediately, if you're thinking this is kind of a crazy idea, you're correct. All right. So big safety rules here. For most of the day, at least until I remove a lot of the bulk out of this thing, I do not want to stand directly in line with this thing. So this is kind of the line of fire right here. You can see I placed my phone off at an angle as well because if this thing comes off, it's going to come off in this plane right here. And I'd rather not take this thing in the teeth. You know, call me crazy, but that just doesn't seem like a fun time. And then, yeah, we're just gonna have to find positions where all of this aligns and makes sense. So this is gonna be the bottom of the bowl. And now, so this is spinning freely, so. All right. Yeah, all right. Good morning, everybody. This is not a smart idea. We're gonna do it anyway. So it's difficult for you to see, but as this turn is happening, I can't see what's happening straight down on the tool. So I'm actually looking at the far side. So as I'm making my cut right here on the tool rest, I'm seeing the effects of it way out here. That's where my actual shadow line is. So we're just gonna try to back this off. Yeah, we're gonna get it reasonably thin on the edge up here. And I'm actually going to switch to a slightly heavier profile gouge. Let's see here. Just because I'm taking odd impact and I want to make sure that the steel bar is not flexing that much. can tell you already, this is pretty hard on the body. Like my shoulders and my wrists are aching a little bit already. So I think I have just enough mass removed on the outside. I can up the speed a little bit. And I think I'm gonna start trying to do push cuts back towards the inside a little bit, just to reduce the overall load on the body. I'm also gonna sharpen up really quickly, just help things along. I need to decide also on the profile of the wing here. I don't think I want to go straight across necessarily. That may wind up just being physically what winds up happening, just because like maintaining a curved profile on the edge is a lot more difficult. But I don't know. I think that there's a way to make it a little bit more intriguing. Alrighty. Yep, let's remove as much bulk as we can right now. All right, good. We're moving a lot of bulk here. It's moving pretty well. No loose clothing, shoes on, and eye protection. Yeah, steel-toed boots, no sleeves, as you can see here. No watch, full face shield. Yeah, I don't take chances with safety on these things. And I'm just gonna swap the other battery on my respirator really quickly. This turn is pretty hard on the body, I have to be honest. This is I would not want to do a production run of these, I don't think. So I'm trying to keep some bulk in the middle here just as a support for this wing, because I want to get this wing basically down to about the final thickness, which we have to be close to. So final thickness at the edge, and then slowly work that in, and then slowly work this back into a bowl shape. This is offering a little bit of stability, which is why I've kind of done this step here. Yeah, basically just bolstering this a little bit, just adding a little bit of mass. So yeah, let's keep at it. All right, so that's pretty much the basic form right there. So now we just need to make this a bowl. I'm not going to worry too much about these ridges. I'm going to do some power sanding on this later. I've seen some methods where people will like lay down a scraper, you know, they'll do something like this. That kind of freaks me out a little bit. I don't know, it might be worth a try just because I haven't done it in a while, but yeah, I don't know. Let me try that out on the inside just for a second, but first let me pull up a burr on this thing. So carbide rod, I'm just gonna pull up a little bit of a burr on the edge here because I don't feel like doing a full sharpen. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna try it on the inside right here. You know what, my spidey sense is tingling even as I'm saying that. I may not. Let's get the bulk removed and then we can start thinking about it. I also have kind of like raw edges here. This is pretty flat. I think I can sand that pretty flat afterwards. I'm losing some chips here and there, like right here. I lost a little bit of one. I'm not freaked out about it. These things happen, you know. This is not how you're supposed to turn these pieces. Like, this is supposed to be two bowls, not one really wonky looking bowl. And then when you reach this point, it really is just a bowl. So I'm gonna get the tailstock out of the way here. Well, it's a little bit thinner on the interior. Yeah, we're not gonna mess with that too hard. So I'm gonna back this off. We're gonna try to turn a nice exterior on this bowl, and then we're gonna flip it around, do maybe the most precarious tenon gripping that we've all seen in a while. And yeah, we'll hollow out the inside. It's really mostly scary at the beginning. Like, once you get a lot of the mass out and you can start spinning it quickly, you can actually start seeing it at the edge, which is nice. The initial ones where you're going really slow, like when it comes close to you, it's really tough to pick it up visually on the edge. But the faster it spins, the more uniform it looks. Put a nice fresh edge on the bowl gouge. Beautiful. Alrighty. So, gotta clean up this tenon just a little bit. I'm gonna take this out. Eventually, I'll probably want to remove the tenon, but I think I want to go with kind of like a hemispherical shape on the bowl. Here we go. A little closer, still out of the firing line. Starting to look like a bowl, huh? How about that? Hey, do me a huge favor. If you're here from the Shorts feed, hit that subscribe button. I try to turn a couple of times a week at the very least. We like to have fun in this shop. If you miss your shop, if you like wood turning, if you just like craft, you are in the right spot for sure. All right, I'm gonna do a little bit of sanding here. So I'm gonna bring up my dust. Ooh, yeah, that's not gonna work today, is it? Because, okay. Let's see, how close can we get before we interfere? I think that's gonna be about it. I almost forgot, I would have absolutely destroyed this thing. Alrighty, and then we're just gonna do some profile sanding here on the wing to start with. And then, yeah, I think we're gonna start at 80. We're just gonna profile this right down. A little bit of material removal. I don't want to cheat too hard here, but just a bit. Nice, and I am gonna wear protection here. for the bowl portion, this is going to be some of the diciest hand sanding that you ever do. Just have to stay alert here. If you're a coffee drinker, this is the time when you want to like take a second, get another cup, you know. Just kind of check in with yourself. How are you feeling? Are you alert? Are you ready? All right. I threw up a lot of dust right there. Hey, what's going on, NB? How you doing? Good to see you. All right, just doing a little sanding. Whew. Definitely worth trying one of these, if you ask me. They're a lot of fun. Dicey, but fun. I would start smaller for sure. Okie doke. So let's get this guy flipped around. And the reason I'm doing it kind of hemispherical is that when I go to take the foot, I want to round the bottom of it a little bit, just so that when it sits, oh, there's just enough mass in it right now where it almost wants to sit up. Oh, that would be cool. All right. Alrighty, here we go. Let's move the dust collector out of the way. Okay, there we are. I may still bring the live center up just to help out a little bit. And yes, I am using a Novichok. If I had to go back and do it all over again, I might not, but yeah, that's what I have. Let's see. All right, so I'm gonna swap the safety center out for a cone center. And just, like whenever I can get extra support on a project like this. I don't use the tailstock as much as I should in everyday turning probably, but yeah, on a project like this, I don't really think that there's much of an option. Yeah, see, it's causing this to flex a little bit because it's not perfectly centered. You know what I might do, actually, is I might create a slightly better nest for it with my first cut. So, let's see, let's move this over, support this cut. I'm literally just gonna V in here so that the hole that it's resting in is centered. Making sure that that's concentric. And let's see. See, there we go. So that initial hole that I turned, or that I punched in the center, It was no longer concentric because when you remove anything in a jaw and then replace it in a jaw, it's never going to be perfectly concentric. So you go with the center that you have. And so I basically just made a nest for the live center, and as you can see, absolutely no movement on this tailstock. This thing is super secure. I'm not going to take a ton off of the outside. I just want a little rim for the bowl protruding. So I'm going to try to take a really, really skinny push cut. Pull first and then push, I think. Yeah, starting to get some chip out at the edges here. I think it's getting to like as thin as we can reasonably get it. Let's see. All right, so now we're going to take this in until it's the same diameter as the rim. I think I'm just going to do a lot of power and hand sanding out here. You can tell I'm going to try to catch this in the light, but it's no longer just concentric rings. I'm getting wobble within the wings because look at how much deflection there is on this thing. So I'm not going to get a clean cut anymore. So I think the move is just to start thinking about this as a sandable surface. Something I've wanted to do for a long time that I just haven't quite gotten around to is to turn a piece like this and then take it over to the Rose engine and do ornamentation on this part, like interrupted ornamentation. I think the problem is that's going to be like a 5-hour turn, and really I wind up with like 2-hour blocks out here. So. And so the idea here is to get this turned down to a spot where the part that protrudes looks like a plausible continuation of the bowl. And as you can see, we're like a shade high, like a very tiny little bit high. All right, there we go. All right, cool. All right, and now for the easy part, we just treat it like a bowl. I mean, how about that? Still a lot of sanding to go after this, so I'm gonna try to get this hollowed pretty quickly. Probably put a quick new edge on my gouge. Actually, let's do the bulk first, and then we'll do the edge on the gouge. All right, now we'll get a new edge so that I can get a really nice surface on here, which should minimize the sanding that we have to do. Ooh, I gotta tell you, this is much harder work than a regular bowl. My hand aches already. The good news is we are getting there. It's absolutely gorge. All right. so that y'all can see the inside of the bowl as it goes. I might back you off a little bit when I get to the very bottom here, but yeah, it's looking good. Reasonable wall thickness so far. Whew. Sorry, I'm going to adjust this so that I can get a little bit of a better angle on the bottom. And just because it's a wing bowl doesn't mean it can't be stylish, you know? So I angled this rim back a little bit. I want it to look inviting, you know? I want to look like it's bringing you into the center. Almost like it's forming a barrier against whatever's happening on the outside. All right, yep, let's get this tuned up on the inside here. Also, if you're here from the short speed, do me a big favor, hit that subscribe button so we can do this again sometime. All right, sorry, I gotta back you off. Hot dang, ladies and gents, it is starting to look like a bowl, wouldn't you say? Lovely. All right. This is in pretty good shape, actually. I'm really happy with that, that last cut. Almost no tear out there. I can see grain clearly all the way through. I think we're in good shape. I just need to do a little bit of power sanding on the outside here. Yeah, it started to vibrate and move a lot, as you can see. So, yeah, gotta do some power sanding there. Get this thing tuned up a little bit, and then we should be in a pretty good spot. I think we're even gonna be able to put some finish on it today, so that's also super fun. Alrighty. Woo! Alrighty. So this is where we are. In pretty good shape, I think. I'm only going to stand this up to about 220. There's a lot of fine dust in the air as it is. All right, let's de-chuck. There we are. So now, because I'm feeling a little bit greedy, and because I don't think I need to get the kids up for another 20 minutes or so, I'm going to remove the foot on the bottom. Oh yeah, that's right, that's right. Wrong adapter. So I'm going to bring up the tailstock just for a little bit of extra support, even if it's only moral support. Then I'm going to remove this because that's just going to get me in trouble. And no matter what happens on the bottom here, I'm sanding off that last little bit. Let's, okay, there we go. Okay, I don't want to punch through, so I just want to show you the spacing on this right now. Everything gets so tight on the inside, like just barely clearing on anything, you know? But being tight like that is the key to reducing vibration. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this foot or get it to look about as hemispherical as possible, then a little bit more power sanding on the bottom, and then we're going to drop some finish on this thing. We're gonna call it a morning. You know, I actually feel good enough about that hold that we're actually going to try to hook up the vacuum chuck. And if I take it very, very slow and very carefully, I should be able to get like a perfect dimpled foot on this thing, even with it being a little bit off center. Famous last words, I know, but... Oh. Look, we came all this way. Let's get it right, huh? Okay. So. And I mean, we are going to go ridiculously slow for this portion. Because if we get this bowl bottom perfectly rounded, it's really going to add to the overall effect. So there we go. There we go. Of course. Nice. All right, and then we're gonna put a little bit of finish on it. We're gonna call it. Oh, 3 months of work to do in a month. That's brutal. Sorry to hear that. Put on the coffee, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, my work's been a little bit crazy too, but thankfully it's more of a desk job type of thing, so it's not that bad, all things considered. It doesn't take a physical toll, but the mental toll is real. All right, so let's also lay down a mat because I don't want to get my lathe bed all grimy. At least not if I don't have to. I prefer to save that for the wet wood. But here we go. Now the big question, what finish do I want to use? Let's go with some polymerized tung oil. The good folks over at Walrus Oil were super cool to send me a bunch of this when they released it. Oh my goodness. This grain pop is going to be ridiculous. Okay, look. Yeah. I don't say it enough, but I think that ribbon sapele might actually be my favorite wood to turn. It's consistent, closed grain structure, or at least tight grain structure. Takes ornamentation in the end grain. And I mean, when you hit it with the finish, it's just like, it's like liquid gold. It's crazy. I mean, come on. Come on now. Also pretty fun having finish in these like mustard bottles. I kind of like it. I like it a lot better than having to get it out of a can. Strong recommend. I think these are from IKEA actually. Pretty cheap. Yeah, so there we go. Nice round bottom. Who doesn't love a nice round bottom, huh? Yeah, check that out. All right, I'm gonna let it rest for a second and then I'm gonna pull all that finish off. Yeah, I mean, come on, look at that. Ridiculous. Absolutely gorge. Let it soak in for, I don't know, another few seconds. Just smooth it around. This stuff goes on pretty thick. Really good adhesion. It's not dripping off all over the place. This is their polymerized tung oil, so it's supposed to set up a lot more quickly than regular tung oil would, which is good because I don't have 6 months to complete a finish, at least not most of the time. All right, let's get this thing wiped down, remove some of the excess, set this over here. There we go. I have to say, the sanding is not too bad. It always gets a little bit dicey on these things, but in this case, I'm okay with how this has gone. This is not my best version of one of these ever, but I think it's pretty solid. So, as we get closer, yeah, I think that'll work. Cool. I'm just trying to get off like any major sort of clumps or like really wet spots of finish. If there's only a little bit left, it'll polymerize on the surface, and that's okay with me. But yeah, that is our bowl. And as it sits like that with the round bottom, I think it's pretty cool. I think it is pretty cool. Nice. I think that'll photograph nicely for later too. Awesome. Well, hey, thanks everybody for being here. If you're here from the Shorts feed, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button so we can do this again sometime. Really appreciate you coming into the shop this morning, and I will see you on the next one.